Part 14. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 131. Lin Mei nodded vigorously, and understood what Su Xiao meant. Su Xiao thought for a while and said, since she doesn't want to make it public, let's not cause this trouble, at least we have to wait until there is direct proof. Lin Mei nodded, I know. She thought of the expressions that the Lin family might have when they knew the truth, and she laughed. As she laughed, tears seemed to flash in her eyes. It's so funny, right? At the beginning, I actually speculated about her maliciously. The whole Lin family looked down on her. Now I know that she doesn't need to return to the Lin family. We are all frogs in the well. Su Xiao sighed, you can't say that. Who would have thought that your family's genes could produce a genius like Yingwan? Lin Mei. Feeling offended. Yingwan didn't take Lin Mei's call seriously. But sometimes, if the other party wanted to know, she would say it clearly. She didn't care much about things on the internet. In the next period of time, she would be busy with data proofreading in the laboratory and hand over the latest technology to the SI family. Then she could officially rest. Lin Mei was very considerate and didn't bother her these days. She didn't know before, but now she knows that she might be busy at any time, so of course she won't be so tactless to bother Yingwan. After she was done, she left the laboratory and received an invitation from Bai Ya. She just hadn't had a good reunion with Bai Ya for a long time, and Bai Ya invited her to his house for dinner. He and Zhu Liuyu had just been engaged, and Yingwan was too busy at the time and only showed up briefly. Now he came back here to have a good reunion with Bai Ya. Bai Ya lives in Tianxinyuan, a high-rise duplex apartment building that was built not long ago. The environment and property management are very good. It was bought as a wedding house for Zhu Liuyu and Bai Ya. It was bought by Yingwan as a wedding gift for them. Tianxinyuan has only 3 buildings in total, and each building has only 10 households. Despite this, it was sold out quickly when it was first put on sale. With an area of more than 300 square meters per household and an excellent geographical location, Tianxinyuan was absolutely priced at a sky-high price when it was first put on sale. Yingwan didn't drive, but took a taxi directly, so that when she arrived at the gate of Tianxinyuan, the security guard looked at her a little surprised. After Yingwan went over and reported her name, the other party respectfully led Yingwan to the lobby downstairs of Bai Ya's house, and she could go up directly. After Yingwan pressed the elevator door and went in, several other people just walked into the lobby. One of them saw Yingwan's profile and was slightly surprised, Lin Mei's sister. This woman has a long, thick black hair, which is very well maintained, and it is enviable to look at. Wearing a black limited edition dress, sunglasses, and eye-catching red lips, she was followed by several people, and had a special style. If the fans were here, they would probably recognize that this person is Ye-ni, Lin Mei's mortal enemy. Beside her stood a girl who looked very similar to her, and her figure looked a little plumper than Ye-ni. She was Ye-ni's sister Yanning, who returned to China. Hearing this, he was a little confused. Which sister? Ye-ni curled her lips, the one called Yingwan. Maybe I saw it wrong. How can she be qualified to be here? Then you must have seen it wrong. Yanning smiled, I haven't heard that Lin Mei bought a house here. Ye-ni rolled her eyes, with her little income, she wants to buy a house here, she's dreaming. Yanning smiled, you can't say that, the Lin family is not without money. Ye-ni sneered, and the sarcasm was obvious. It's a bit stuck, I will continue to update during the day. There are comments and recommendation votes for extra updates, I remember. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 132. Yingwan came out of the elevator and stood in front of the door of Bai Ya's house. The door was already open. Bai Ya stood in front of the door. When he saw Yingwan coming, he smiled, here you are, boss. Yinghuan nodded. Bai Ya led him in. An alluring aroma came out immediately. Lu Yu knew you were coming, so she had to cook for me today. I have never eaten her food. If it is not tasty, you don't have to give me face. Yinghuan just smiled. Zulu Yu also heard this in the kitchen and scolded, what qualifications do you have to eat for free? She walked out of the kitchen wearing an apron. When she saw Yinghuan, she showed a look of amazement in her eyes. Boss. She had short hair and was the kind of refreshing and clean girl. She made people feel fresh and neat at a glance. But she spoke quite gently. Yinghuan, just call me Yinghuan. Zulu Yu looked at Yinghuan, a little reserved, then I won't be polite, Yinghuan. She had only met Yinghuan once at the engagement ceremony, and she left too quickly, so Zulu Yu didn't know much about Bai Ya, the legendary boss. In addition, she was not in that circle herself. Later, according to Bai Ya's popular science, she knew how powerful Yinghuan was. Zulu Yu felt that she had to be cautious when she saw such a god. Bai Ya snorted and laughed, what are you afraid of? Aren't you very arrogant when facing me? The boss doesn't eat people. Zulu Yu rolled her eyes at Bai Ya. It can be seen that the young couple has a good relationship. Yinghuan smiled faintly beside him. Because Bai Ya worked with her, the relationship was slightly better. She didn't know how Bai Ya and Zulu Yu knew each other. She only knew that Bai Ya suddenly told her that he was in love 2 years ago. As a boss, Yinghuan certainly supports the love affair of his subordinates. People like Bai Ya have a plan for their lives. Even if Zulu Yu seems to have a bit of a reckless temper, Bai Ya must have a reason for liking the person he chooses. Yinghuan will not point fingers at other people's choices. Ah, sit down for a while, Yinghuan, I'm making soup now. Zulu Yu threw down this sentence and went to the kitchen to continue working. Bai Ya smiled, I'm still blessed by you today. I've been with her for so long, and I've never seen her cook for me, not even one meal, only cooked instant noodles once. Yinghuan just chuckled and said, what kind of food do you need her to cook for you? Can't you cook it yourself? Bai Ya said confidently, I can't. Yinghuan, then don't talk about others. Bai Ya chuckled, asked Yinghuan to sit down, poured her a glass of water, and said, the director of the crew I found for Lin Mei had some problems. Yinghuan said casually, huh? What problems? Hey, the bad habits of big directors. Bai Ya waved his hand, it's just that he came back to the stage and felt that he couldn't humiliate his reputation. He disliked your sister for not being an authentic movie queen. Mao Shifeng is an award-winning international director who cherishes his feathers very much, so he was a little unhappy to hear that Lin Mei was playing the leading role. He didn't actually know who Lin Mei was, but he could find out by searching on the internet. Yinghuan, then how did you solve it? If the matter had not been resolved, Bai Ya would not have told Yinghuan directly. Bai Ya, I was too lazy to pay attention to him, so I gave him an extra 10 million, and he didn't say anything. Yinghuan, oh. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 133. This is the reality of the world when you look at it online. The big director probably wanted to have a fight with Wan Teng, but who would have thought that Wan Teng was unwilling to even talk to him, and directly gave him more money in a simple and rude way. The big director has been in the circle for so many years, but he has never seen such a rude person. After a silence, he still agreed. Okay, it is not impossible to train her to have good acting skills. Anyway, the heroine of this play is not the most important, and other actors can support her. Bai Ya thought for a while and said, aren't you going to tell the Lin family about your situation? Yinghuan glanced at him, why should I tell them these things if I have no intersection? Bai Ya nodded, I think so too, there is really no need. What is your impression of Lin Mei? Yingwan, not bad. These two words at least show that Yingwan is still okay with it. If she is not okay, she probably won't even pay attention to it. Bai Ya sighed, and Zhu Liuya shouted in the kitchen, Bai Ya, come and help. Bai Ya immediately stood up, why do you need my help to cook? Complaints aside, people still went. Yingwan saw him walk into the kitchen, propped up his chin and looked around casually. Bai Ya's house was not decorated very luxuriously, but had a warm and childish style, with sky blue as the main color, and many cartoon dolls placed around. It was obvious that Zhu Liuya liked it. Bai Ya helped Zhu Liuya bring out the food. Although he knew Yingwan was coming, he didn't cook many dishes because Zhu Liuya was the one cooking, but judging by Zhu Liuya's cooking skills, it was still quite good. 6 dishes and 1 soup, in fact, it was luxurious enough for 3 people to eat. When they started eating, Bai Ya took a bite and was a little surprised, you really know how to cook. Then why don't you cook for me after knowing each other for so long? Zhu Liuya looked at Bai Ya with a smile, you are dreaming. Bai Ya, the boss is here, you should be more elegant, you don't look like a woman at all. Yingwan just watched them playing around and found it interesting. Zhu Liuya glanced at Yingwan and just laughed, Yingwan, can I ask you why you are willing to go on the show? Zhu Liuya certainly didn't think Yingwan was the kind of person who liked to show off. If she wanted to, she could just expose her identity and it would be enough to blow up the internet for 3 days and 3 nights. She only heard Bai Ya say that Yingwan didn't want to go back to the company for the time being, and she was in the countryside. She didn't expect that she could live broadcast in the countryside. To be honest, Zhu Liuya had never seen such a scenery. She felt that life in the countryside was quite comfortable. If Yingwan's personality liked such a quiet environment, it wouldn't look strange. Yingwan casually said, it's not a matter of willingness or unwillingness. Lin Mei asked me to go on the show, and I agreed because I had nothing to do. Zhu Liuya opened her eyes wide and was a little curious, is that Lin Mei really your biological sister? To be honest, the gap is still very large. At least Zhu Liuya easily found Yingwan's biological family. A family like the Lin family is too different from Yingwan. Through Bai Ya, she vaguely knew that Yingwan was abandoned by her original family. She wanted to know what was going on in the minds of a family like the Lin family. Yingwan just nodded. Bai Ya kicked Zhu Liuya's feet under the table. Zhu Liuya understood and didn't dare to ask any more questions. She quickly changed the subject. She was just curious about such a deity. Becoming the richest by farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 134. After dinner at Bai's house, Bai Ya had to go to work in the afternoon, and Yingwan planned to go back to the countryside. She hadn't gone back for several days, so the things inside were left to the village chief and others to look at. But after going downstairs, I happened to bump into the Yes sisters. However, the Yes sisters knew her, but she did not know the Yes sisters, and she was not interested in checking the stranger's information. Even if he sees Ye and I, he is just a stranger. So much so that when Ye and I saw her actually appearing at the door and taking a taxi to leave, she was slightly surprised, is it really Yingwan? It could be said that I was dazzled when I entered the elevator at that time, but now I bumped into her clearly, and Ye and I couldn't pretend that she was dazzled. Yanning also saw it. Because of the dispute between Lin Mei and Ye and I on the internet, she also went to watch Lin Mei and Yingwan's live broadcast in private. To sum up, the Lin sisters did not have any bright spots compared to them. It is indeed a boring live broadcast. Those who like to watch their live broadcast are probably their true fans. Yanning didn't have a bad feeling towards them, but because of her sister, she inevitably had some inexplicable feelings towards the Lin sisters. At this moment, seeing Yingwan here, she was also surprised, what is she doing here? Isn't she in the country? Did you come back with Lin Mei? When Ye and I saw Ying Wan, her dislike for Lin Mei made her also dislike the sister, not to mention that she couldn't compare with her at all. She frowned slightly and was a little doubtful for a moment. Did Lin Mei really buy a house here? The key is that she also heard about Lin Mei's financial situation by chance. If Lin Mei had earned the money for the house here over the years, she would believe it, but that woman has never been soft on the Lin family's money. It is said that she didn't want to be on the show at the beginning, and she didn't even have 200 million yuan. She couldn't afford the compensation, so she had no choice but to appear on the show with Ying Wan. How could she afford to buy a house here? But now that she saw Ying Wan appearing here, Ye and I couldn't think of any other situation. It would be okay if Ying Wan came by car, but Ying Wan took a taxi and looked like he was visiting someone else. Ye and I couldn't guess the situation and didn't have time to take photos. She thought for a moment and called someone to check whether Lin Mei really bought a house here. She and Yanning came here to visit a relative at home, and were about to drive home. On the way, Yanning happened to talk about the endorsement. Originally Lin Mei's endorsement ended up falling to Ye and I. This was indeed an unexpected surprise for her. She couldn't help but smile proudly. Lin Mei was in a bad mood that day. Even the audience found out. In her heart, Lin Mei was in a bad mood. I must be so angry that this endorsement fell on me without any effort. I am so unlucky that my teeth will choke even if I drink cold water. Ye and I was driving the car, and before she even smiled twice, she suddenly received a call. She said sweetly with a smile, "Say. There was news over there." Ye and I's eyes widened instantly and her face turned pale. "What did you say? Are you crazy? How is this possible?" Her reaction was so great that even Yanning looked over and frowned. "Sister, what's wrong?" However, it was repeated again, and Ye and I's face turned a little distorted. She hung up the phone, as if she was gritting her teeth. "How is this possible?" Yanning continued to ask, "What's going on, sister?" Ye and I's eyes were red. Lin Mei actually received the film People of the World. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 135. Lin Mei and Su Xiao discussed the schedule and shooting cycle with the producer of The World, and the news was almost confirmed. Although it was well concealed, the female lead had been decided and Lin Mei could not change it, so some news could naturally spread. What Ye and I got was the news that Lin Mei got the female lead of The World. She was of course shocked and even hard to accept. She had also thought about this film at that time, and she certainly didn't dare to think about the female lead. At that time, she also thought that she could get a female supporting role with her family background. As a result, the producer was Wan Teng Group, and the other party didn't have to give her Ye family any face. Ye and I's agent used his connections to ask Wan Teng producers several times, but was fooled by the other party. It's just a female lead, it's as difficult as climbing to the sky for Ye and I to get it. Not to mention the female lead. Now Lin Mei actually got the female lead. Ye and I thought it was fake news at the first time, but the source of the news was guaranteed, and the other party also sent a photo of Lin Mei and her agent Su Xiao meeting with the producer of The World. It's understandable that Ye and I didn't get it, but why did Lin Mei get it? Her Lin family is not even as good as the Ye family, not to mention that Lin Mei is not loved by her parents in the Lin family. Ye and I was furious here, and the news on the internet soon spread. Logically speaking, The World is a big movie, and who will play the female lead is a major gimmick, and it won't be exposed so soon. However, this exposure was also instructed by Wan Teng, so a big V with tens of millions of fans on the internet released a message. Weibo Gossip Center V received an anonymous tip-off. It is said that the female lead candidate for The World this time has been decided to be LM. It is an anonymous tip-off, and the source of the news has not yet been determined. As soon as this news was released, the netizens who paid attention to it exploded instantly. LM, is it the one I think? Lin Mei, damn, this actor is a million miles away from her, she is a TV star and plays in Mao Shifeng's big production, hello, are you sure it's not fake news? How dare you make a revelation without confirming the source? If Lin Mei plays the leading role in this film, I will stand on my head and eat shit, okay. I used to think your revelations were quite accurate, but I think this news is pure nonsense. Lin Mei has no channels to contact the world. It is said that several actresses in the circle are vying for the leading role. If she had the ability to get it, why has she been trampled by a marketing geek for so many years? It was the marketing account that took away my Mei. What does it have to do with my Mei? Can you be more precise? Can the marketing account take some responsibility? Can this kind of news be made randomly? What did my Mei do wrong? Let me tell you, if it is true, Lin Mei just lost an endorsement, and then immediately got a big production. Could it be that she has a fight with the team behind the strong promotion? What are you thinking in the comments? Whether it is Ye-ni or Lin Mei, it is just a dream for them to get the leading female role in the world. Don't you have any idea who is directing and producing the film? Wanteng Group. What does Wanteng Group exist for? Lin Mei's sister's name also has the character Wan in it. Actually I am just talking nonsense, I don't know what I am talking about. If it is true, I have reason to suspect that Lin Mei has hooked up with some heavyweight sponsor. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 136. As soon as the news came out, it really caused a huge uproar on the internet. Not many netizens pay attention to Shijiran, and there are only some gossips about blockbusters before the official news comes out. But it can't help being led by the rhythm from time to time. Previously, several famous actresses were reported to be tearing up the female lead, but the words used by the marketing accounts were all possibilities. Only in the case of Lin Mei, the marketing account said that Lin Mei was directly decided. Isn't this putting Lin Mei on the fire? First of all, regardless of whether she is qualified or not, those possible actresses alone will probably target her. Lin Mei was also a little panicked when she saw the news, and she hurriedly asked Su Xiao, "Why did I release this news?" Wanteng had just decided on her, but the news was leaked by someone. It is hard to guarantee that the producers will not think that she is meddling. Su Xiao had received calls from several media outlets, asking openly or covertly about the truth of the incident. He was sitting aside and very busy. Hearing this, he was a little anxious. "You don't have to worry. I'm asking. It's impossible for us to release the news. The problem is not with us." Lin Mei was also a little anxious when she saw Su Xiao calling. While the two of them were anxious here, Yingwan returned to the countryside leisurely. Lin Mei will not come until next month. This month she has time to do her own things alone. When she returned to the countryside, the village chief came to find her with a smile. "Wan, there is great news." Yingwan looked at the happy look of the village chief and smiled. "What great news?" The village chief laughed so hard that his eyes were almost blinded. "The country has divided hundreds of miles around us, including Haishan village, into demolition sites. It is said that several nearby villages will move here and make it into a large community of 10,000 people. We are going to develop here." Yingwan. Huayang village does not have much development prospects, but it will be different if the country intervenes. If Wanteng can make some more efforts, it will not be difficult for Huayang village to evolve into a small county town. After all, the roads have been opened. However, there are so many lands worth demolishing, and it is easy to understand why Huayang village was chosen. Yingwan also curved his eyes like a crescent moon. "This is a good thing, Grandpa village chief. Of course it is a good thing. I didn't expect that our broken place would be demolished one day. When a relative of mine was demolished, everyone was compensated with a house. I envied him to death. I didn't expect that the good thing would happen to us now. It is said that the construction will start in the second half of the year. The news I have heard so far is that everyone will be compensated 300,000 yuan per person according to the number of people, and the house will be replaced with a new house of the same size as the current area. The house left by your grandfather, I will give it to you. You measured it, including the yard, it is at least 200 square meters. Although our place is not good, this compensation is very good. Wan, you are rich. Yingwan. She laughed with the village chief, and her smile was very sincere. Yes, I am rich. The village chief thought about it, smacked his lips and had a little regret. It's a pity that you are the only one in your family, and the compensation is not much. This is too bad. It is said that getting married before the second half of the year will also be counted as a head. Otherwise, you can get married as soon as possible and include your husband. 300,000 per person, I have never seen so much money in my life. Yingwan. The village chief is really worried about her demolition. I was busy with other things in the afternoon, so I'm sorry that it's even later. The comments and last week's recommendation votes are already presented. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 137. Yingwan said with a smile, "It doesn't matter, village chief, the construction will only start in the second half of the year. There is no rush now. Demolition is a good thing, it is a windfall for the villagers of Huiyang village." The village chief waved his hand. Okay, I have to inform other people, so you can go about your business." Yingwan nodded. The village chief left happily. When Yingwan returned to the door of his house, he saw a large bag of potatoes placed at the door. They are big and grow well, like fresh potatoes dug out of the soil. She doesn't know how long it has been there, maybe someone else brought it to her. She paused, and Suhan appeared next to her silently. "Aunt Wang from the village sent it here. I left it here to see if you were not at home. They have a special status and it is difficult for them to come forward to do anything." Yingwan paused. Aunt Wang is also an old man in the village. She thought for a moment and nodded, then put the potatoes in. After a while, she walked out of the house and went to Aunt Wang's home. Aunt Wang's home is near the entrance to the village. She lives alone with her little grandson. The grandson is only 3 years old, and the daughter and son-in-law both work outside and rarely come back once a year. Yingwan went to the yard of Mrs. Wang's house and saw the little bald man playing glass beads in the yard. The little bald boy is 3 years old, fair, but chubby, but he still has a runny nose. When he saw Yingwan, he smiled naively. "Sister Wan." Yingwan smiled at him, took out a tissue from her pocket and wiped his nose. "Where's grandma?" Little Fatty said vaguely, "Cook rice." About the time she heard the sound, Aunt Wang, who was over 60 years old, saw Yingwan coming and said, "Yingwan is here? Have you eaten yet? Do you want to eat at Auntie's house?" Yingwan smiled and said, "Auntie, did you give me that bag of potatoes?" "Ah." Aunt Wang, "Yes, I just saw that you and your sister rarely go to the market. I grew those potatoes myself. They are guaranteed to be delicious. You can keep them there for a while." Yingwan took out a $100 bill from his bag. "I can't ask for your things in vain. I have to give you the money." No. Aunt Wang waved her hands hurriedly and took 2 steps back. "How can I ask for money for what I gave you? It's not worth a few broken potatoes. Your grandfather helped me a lot in the past. When my grandson was 1 month old, your grandfather had no legs or feet. You are so neat and you came to cook me a full moon feast for no money. I will give you a few potatoes now. If you charge me, will you be worthy of your grandpa?" When Aunt Wang said this, she was a little moved when she thought about the past. Her eyes turned red and she hurriedly held back. There are still a lot of potatoes in the soil. It doesn't cost any money. You can just ask Auntie to get a few after you finish eating. Potatoes are really worthless, and I can't give you any other good things. If you give me money for a little something, you're welcome. Little Fatty clapped his hands beside him with a naive smile. Sister Wan Wan, take it, take it. Ying Wan glanced at Aunt Wang, paused for 3 seconds, and then said, okay. She will be making pork ribs and roasting potatoes later, so she will bring a bowl to the aunt. Aunt Wang smiled, you can eat at my house, I'm making meat buns, and Taishuan wants to eat them. Taishuan is her grandson's nickname. The old man is not particular about naming, and rough names make a living. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 138. No, I have something to do when I get back. Yingwan smiled and said goodbye to Auntie Wang, and touched Tisuan's little head. The child saw her leaving and followed her. Auntie Wang was anxious when she saw it. Tisuan is going to eat, where are you going? Sister Wan Wan needs to study, don't disturb him. Go play for a while. Taishuan pulled Yingwan's pants. Yingwan took a look and said, it's okay, let him go with me, I'll send it back to you later. Auntie Wang hesitated for a moment, then nodded and said, okay. After that, she glared at Taishuan, if you don't eat, I won't heat up your food later. The little fat man laughed and left with Yingwan. Suhan and others who were in the dark in the distance saw it, and their expressions were a little unpredictable for a while. A team member next to him smiled and said, it's worth it for Miss Ying to come back here. No one in the village knew what Yingwan was. Although they lived a normal life and most people had no education, they were simple rural people, but they were still good to Yingwan. Suhan just sank his eyes and didn't speak. Yingwan brought the little fat boy back to the yard. The little fat boy's full name is Zhao Yili, and this name was given by his mother. It is quite different from his nickname. When Zhao Yili saw the flower bead, pond, pavilion and swing in Yingwan's yard, his eyes widened, clapping his hands and cheering, Sister Wan Wan, I want to sit, sit. He pointed at the swing. Yingwan lowered her head and said gently, no, you are too young now, Sister Wan Wan is busy and can't watch you, I will find you something to eat. She took Zhao Yili into the room and found a box of snacks. The snacks were canned, all with English letters, and they were imported at a glance. The main reason was that she had been back for so long, and many people sent her things one after another, and most of the snacks were sent by Bayat. He was afraid that she would feel uncomfortable eating in the countryside. Zhao Yili's eyes widened as he held the can, and he sat obediently beside him. Yingwan sat in the yard and washed a few potatoes and peeled potatoes. After cutting twice, she suddenly heard a faint and thin cry from outside. It sounded a bit like a dog barking. Zhao Yili also heard it. He held the jar and pointed outside, dog, there is a dog. Yingwan looked up and saw the shadow of a puppy outside the fence. She walked over and opened the door. A small black dog swung its tail at Yingwan. It was of average size, with some dirty mud on its body, and one leg seemed to be lame. It looked at Yingwan with a pair of big eyes and barked twice. It sounded really pitiful. It didn't look like a dog raised in the village, because Yingwan could remember any dog she had seen. She had never seen this dog. She frowned a little. The puppy looked like it was several months old and barked at Yingwan a few more times. Yingwan turned and walked into the kitchen. Zhao Yili squatted at the fence door with a snack jar in his arms, looking at the puppy. He was very curious, but he didn't dare to touch it. Yingwan cut some small pieces of meat to feed the puppy, and took a plate to put it in, and there was also water. The puppy was probably very hungry. Seeing the food, it wagged its tail. When Yingwan put the food down, it hesitated for a while and was a little afraid to come over. Yingwan knocked on the bowl, and it paused for a while before slowly coming over and lowering its head to eat. However, Yingwan saw that there was a place on the side of its belly where the hair had been lost, and there was also a dot scar that looked like a cigarette burn. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 139. Yingwan stared intently, and Zhao Yili next to him smiled silly, good dog. He wanted to reach out and touch it, but Yingwan stopped him in time, this puppy is not a domestic one. It may bite people. Don't touch the dog. Zhao Yili was confused, but when he heard this, he retracted his hand obediently and repeated Yingwan's words, bite, dog bite. Yingwan nodded, yes. When the puppy finished eating, it circled at the fence gate and swung its tail at Yingwan. Yingwan looked at the little thing. She had no intention of keeping a pet, but now that she saw a dog coming to her door, she didn't think she couldn't keep one. The little black dog was still a little scared. He was right at the door and didn't dare to come in or leave. Yingwan simply built a straw nest for it, with the fence gate open, and he was busy with his own business first, and it just lay there, refusing to move. Yingwan quickly cooked the pork ribs and roasted potatoes. The moment it was cooked, the aroma made Zhao Yili drool all over. He rushed in and kept asking, Sister Wan Wan, what did you do? I'm hungry. Hungry. He was just greedy while holding the snack jar. If he had eaten sweets in the past, he would not have wanted to eat, but today he was so fragrant. Yingwan smiled, filled a big bowl, and then led him back, okay, go back and let grandma feed you. Zhao Yili nodded, okay, okay. When he walked to the door, the little black dog also smelled the fragrance. When he saw Yingwan leaving, he swung his tail and followed him from a distance, and followed him. Yingwan sent Zhao Yili back and gave a large bowl of potato braised pork ribs to Aunt Wang. Of course Aunt Wang was extremely pleasantly surprised, but she didn't refuse and kept thanking Yingwan. When she saw Zhao Yili carrying a large jar of candy from her home, Aunt Wang felt the packaging was very expensive and asked Zhao Yili to return it. How could a child understand this? He pouted and was a little reluctant. Yingwan smiled and said, it was originally meant for him to eat. Let him keep it and eat it slowly. Aunt Wang kept thanking Yingwan again, and Zhao Yili followed suit. Knowing that he had taken advantage, he thanked Yingwan innocently. Yingwan smiled and waved, then went back. The little black dog had been following her. It was outside when she was at Aunt Wang's house. Now that she was back, it returned to the door and lay down in the grass nest that Yingwan had built for it. Yingwan gave it some cooled ribs. While gnawing on the bones, it looked longingly at the chickens running happily in the yard. Yingwan was busy with her own things and looked up at it from time to time. It was spinning around at the door and never came in. After a while, Yingwan took out her phone to check the news. Because she read some entertainment news on Weibo, she would often push some gossip to her. At this glance, she saw that Lin Mei was on the hot search again. Hashtag it is rumored that the #1 female lead in People of the World will be confirmed to be Lin Mei hashtag. When she saw the news, she thought, isn't this a sure thing? I clicked in and took a quick look, but it was all the same, those expressing disbelief, fans tearing apart, and those openly and covertly belittling Lin Mei. Yingwan usually doesn't watch TV series. She only watches a few movies to relax. She's not picky about genres. Now that she has more time, her interest has returned, so she searched for TV series starring Lin Mei. Lin Mei received a lot of ordinary resources in order to make her debut in the early years. The characters of some supporting actresses are hard to describe, and Yingwan happened to choose a movie in which she played a supporting role. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 140. In this supporting role film, Lin Mei plays a vicious female supporting role, the kind who tries every means to trip up the male and female protagonists. Yingwan watched it for a few times and silently clicked X. It's not that Lin Mei's acting is not good, but this old film is set up as a tragic female protagonist, who cries throughout the whole process. Yingwan has no prejudice against crying women, but she can't stand this kind of unspeakable plot from time to time. She roughly searched for Lin Mei's debut career on Weibo. Fans are good in this regard. They will make a summary of the main character's debut career, and naturally saw some gossip about Lin Mei. It is said that she has been disliked by the Lin family since she was a child. Compared to Ye-ni next door, she is miserable. You can tell who is the chosen one at a glance. Ye-ni is also mentally ill and has nothing to do but to be tied to Lin Mei. She is worthy of being ashamed for forced praise. She can't show how proud she is if she doesn't step on Lin Mei for a day. Lin Mei's sister Lin Beoxi posted a bracelet worth 500,000 yuan on Ins. It is said that it was bought by her sister. If nothing else, Lin Mei is really generous to her sister. Lin Mei follows her brother and sister on Ins. Why is only Lin Beoxi following back? Lin Mei's brother Lin Beojun is showing off his wealth on social platforms again. He is the prince of a wealthy family and the brother of a big star. He is really the chosen one. I am jealous. Does anyone know that Lin Mei's boyfriend was taken away by Ye-ni? Was Lin Mei's boyfriend at that time the son of a building materials business tycoon? When Yingwan saw these gossips, she didn't show any expression. After another swipe, a new message suddenly popped up. Breaking news: Lin Mei's ex-boyfriend implied in the circle of friends that Lin Mei was stealing resources, saying that his current boyfriend was too naive. Isn't his current boyfriend Ye-ni? What kind of magical brain circuit is this? Isn't it Lin Mei who was robbed of resources? When Yingwan saw this news, she just felt a little strange. But she has never been very interested in the gossip about Lin Mei and Ye-ni, so she glanced at it and glanced away. Who would have thought that just after putting down the phone, Su-han came in and reported, "Miss Ying, Lin Beoxi and Lin Jiarui are here." Yingwan. Although her calm face did not change much, Su-han still saw her eyes and became colder for a moment. That's right, the two people who came were not among the people she wanted to see. But there was no reason why Huiyang village could not come. Yingwan thought about it and said casually, "Come if you want. Some things should be made clear during this meeting. Otherwise, they would come to harass Yingwan from time to time. How could she have the leisure to deal with these people?" Soon, Lin Jiarui and Lin Beoxi had entered the village. Since there was a road in the village now, they drove here directly. The bright white SUV still attracted the attention of the people in the village. The village chief thought that Yingwan's sister Lin Mei had returned again. Lin Jiarui drove the car and looked at the scenery outside the window. Although the road in the village had been renovated, looking at the old and ordinary buildings in the village, Lin Jiarui couldn't help frowning. She can stay in such a place. Lin Beoxi was wearing a pink dress and sitting in the co-pilot. She looked outside and there was some curiosity in her eyes. She happened to see Zhao Yili sitting in the yard of Aunt Wang's house, holding the imported snack can in his hand. Lin Beoxi's eyes widened. That snack was a brand she liked very much, but it was very expensive and would be limited from time to time. Isn't it said that there is no money in the countryside? Lin Beoxi was confused.